Hello and thank you for listening to my Google Slides presentation on the most disturbing chess facts ever recorded. Chess is supposed to be a peaceful game. A refined game. A game of intellectuals sitting quietly across from each other, thinking noble thoughts. It is not. What I am about to tell you is verified, documented, and in several cases, deeply upsetting. By the end of this video, you will never look at a wooden board and 32 pieces the same way again. Let's begin. We are starting with the worst one immediately, because there is no gentle way into this. Alexander Pichotkin. Russian supermarket worker. Completely ordinary on the surface. Also a serial killer who murdered at least 48 people, possibly up to 61, in Moscow's Bitsa Park between 1992 and 2006. Now here's where chess comes in. When police caught him and searched his apartment, they found a chessboard. On that chessboard, he had written a date in each square, one for every person he killed. His goal was to fill all 64 squares. One murder per square. Like a personal achievement system. He said his first murder felt like his first love, butterflies in the stomach. He invited a friend to help him. The friend changed his mind. Pichotkin killed him instead. His first victim was his only friend. He played chess with elderly men in that same park while bodies were in the sewers below them. After his arrest, he admitted to being disappointed he hadn't filled all 64 squares. He was sentenced to life in prison, with the first 15 years in solitary confinement. The chess did not make him a monster. But he used it as a scoreboard. And that is the kind of thing that lives in your head. August 2024. Dagestan Chess Championship, Russia. A player named Amina Abakarova walks over to her rival's board 20 minutes before the game. Before doing anything, she asks the staff if the security cameras are currently recording. She is told they are not. They were. She then takes mercury, extracted from a thermometer, and smears it across the chess pieces and the board surface that her opponent, Uma Ignat Osmanova, is about to be touching for the next several hours. Mercury. From a thermometer. On a chessboard. Osmanova sits down, plays the game, wins second place, and then collapses from dizziness and nausea. She is rushed for medical help. The security footage catches everything. Abakarova calmly walking over. Calmly applying the poison. Calmly walking away. She was arrested and faced charges of attempted murder by the Russian Chess Federation. Now here is the detail that makes this worse. Abakarova and Osmanova had been rivals since childhood. This was not random. She came to the tournament with mercury already prepared. She had thought this through. For a chess tournament. She planned a poisoning for a chess tournament. 1959. The Soviet Vostok research station in Antarctica. Two scientists are playing chess in one of the most isolated places on Earth. Months from any outside contact. No way out. Nothing but ice and each other. One of them loses the game. And according to multiple accounts, he became so unhinged that he grabbed an axe and attacked his opponent. The story spread widely enough that the Soviet Union reportedly banned chess from Antarctic research stations following the incident. Now, historians will note that the full details are difficult to verify. The story has the texture of an urban legend. In some versions the victim survives. But here is what is real. Decades later, in 2018, another Russian researcher at an Antarctic station actually stabbed a colleague because the colleague kept spoiling the endings of books he was reading. So the concept of extreme isolation making people lose their minds over completely minor conflicts, at an Antarctic base, is very much documented. Whether the 1959 chess murder happened exactly as described or not, the fact that people believe it is plausible says everything. Antarctica does something to people. Chess was allegedly the trigger. And given where that station is, nobody was coming to help. Bobby Fischer. IQ over 180. World chess champion at 29. Ended 20 years of Soviet dominance in a match the entire Cold War was watching. He was a certified genius. He was also, for the last 30 years of his life, completely unraveling in ways that were genuinely difficult to watch. Fischer became a vocal anti-Semite and Holocaust denier. He made hateful public statements for years, collected extremist literature, and wrote things in his personal notebooks that investigators later described as genuinely alarming. Then September 11 happened. 4 hours after the attacks, Fischer was on live radio in the Philippines. And he said, on air, that he applauded the attacks. That it was a, quote, wonderful day. He called for a military coup. He told listeners to whine and cry because their time was coming. This was the man America had treated as a national hero just decades before. After that, he lived as a fugitive, arrested in Japan, bouncing between countries, eventually given Icelandic citizenship. He died in 2008 without ever returning home. And here's the detail nobody fully explains: Bobby Fischer, the man saying these things, was himself of Jewish heritage. He knew this. He did not care. What happened to Bobby Fischer after chess is one of the most disturbing stories in the entire history of the sport. Not because of the chess. Because of what the man became once the chess was gone. Wilhelm Steinitz was the first official world chess champion. He held the title for 8 years and was unbeaten in match play for 28 years straight. He was considered the greatest chess mind of the 19th century. Then he lost his title to Emanuel Lasker in 1894. And then again in a rematch in 1897. And something broke. After the second loss, Steinitz began claiming that he could move chess pieces on the board using electric currents that he emitted from his own body. He started walking barefoot in his backyard every morning in all weather conditions. He claimed he could telephone anyone anywhere in the world without a wire. And then, the final move, he announced that he was trying to reach God. Not to speak to God. To challenge God to a chess match. With pawn odds. Meaning Steinitz was offering to spot God a pawn and still win. This man, the greatest player of his era, believed he could beat God and was generous enough to give the Almighty a head start. His wife had him committed to the Manhattan State Hospital on Ward's Island. He died there in 1900, penniless, in a pauper's grave. The New York Times ran a piece saying his death was, quote, "another warning that serious chess is a very serious thing indeed." He is still one of the most important figures in chess history. He also tried to call God on an invisible telephone to offer him pawn odds. He died there in 1900, penniless, in a pauper's grave. The New York Times ran a piece saying his death was, quote, "another warning that serious chess is a very serious thing indeed." He is still one of the most important figures in chess history. He also tried to call God on an invisible telephone to offer him pawn odds. Paul Morphy is one of the most gifted chess players who ever lived. He became the American chess champion at 20. He traveled to Europe and destroyed every top player on the continent. He was celebrated like a rock star, dinners in his honor, royalty wanting to meet him, newspapers calling him a genius of the highest order. And then he retired at 22 and never played competitively again. Why? He found the game beneath him. He wanted to be a lawyer. He wanted to be taken seriously. And the world only wanted to talk about chess. What followed was a slow, painful unraveling. Morphy became increasingly paranoid. He believed people were plotting against him. He wandered the streets of New Orleans talking to himself. He threatened to sue his friends when they tried to get him help. His New York Times obituary in 1884 read, "The great chess player insane for nearly a score of years." And when he was found dead at 47, in his bathtub, there were women's shoes arranged in a circle around him. He had been collecting and arranging women's shoes in careful semicircles for years. Nobody fully understands why. He never explained it. He just looked at them, according to accounts. He was the greatest chess player in America before Fischer, and he spent his last years alone in New Orleans arranging shoes and arguing with invisible enemies. Chess gave him everything. And then chess left. And nothing replaced it. Raymond Weinstein was one of the most promising young chess players in America. He finished third in the 1960 U.S. Chess Championship. He competed on the world stage alongside players like Bobby Fischer. He had a real future in the game. And then he was diagnosed with serious mental illness and confined to a psychiatric facility. In 1964, while on temporary release from the institution, he was staying in a halfway house. His elderly roommate, 83 years old, said something derogatory about Weinstein's mother. Weinstein killed him. Raymond Weinstein has been in a psychiatric hospital ever since. He never left. He never played competitively again. He was considered chess's most notorious killer before Alexander Pichotkin came along and raised the bar in the most horrifying way possible. Chess attracts extraordinary minds. It also seems to attract, with unsettling frequency, minds that are one bad day away from something irreversible. Weinstein is still alive. Still in that facility. Still there, decades later. Kurt von Bartheleben was a German chess master. In 1924, he threw himself out of the second-floor window of his boarding house. He died. He had been living in extreme poverty. In 1989, Armenian international master Karen Grigoryan threw himself to his death. That same year, Soviet international master Georgy Levitsky did the same. In 1997, Latvian master Alvis Vitolins jumped to his death. In 1999, Estonian Grandmaster Lembedol died the same way. These are not connected incidents. These are different people, different decades, different countries, different windows. The pattern is uncomfortable enough that historians have repeatedly asked whether chess, the obsessive, Isolating, identity-consuming nature of chess at the highest level plays some role in what happens to the people who dedicate their lives to it. There is no clean answer. Albert Einstein once said that chess holds its master in its own bonds, shackling the mind and brain so that the inner freedom of even the strongest must suffer. He wasn't joking. He was describing something real. And the window thing keeps happening. September 2022. The Sinquefield Cup. 19-year-old American Grandmaster Hans Niemann beats Magnus Carlsen, 5-time world champion, greatest player alive, #1 in the world, in a stunning upset. Magnus shakes his hand, signs the scoresheet, and the next morning simply does not show up. He tweets a video of a soccer manager saying, "If I speak, I am in big trouble," and withdraws from the tournament entirely. No explanation. Just gone. The chess world loses its mind. People start analyzing the game. And then someone on a Twitch chess stream makes a joke. The joke is, what if Niemann had vibrating anal beads receiving chess moves in Morse code from someone outside with a chess engine? The joke spreads. Elon Musk tweets about it. Actual news outlets write about it. Chess.com releases a 72-page report saying Niemann likely cheated in over 100 online games in the past. Niemann offers to play his next tournament completely naked. He gets body scanned at the venue entrance. His food is checked. Piers Morgan invites him on live television and asks him, directly, on air, if he has ever used anal beads during a chess tournament. Niemann replies, "That is not a serious theory. No physical device was ever found. No over-the-board cheating was ever proven." The case settled out of court. The chess world spent an entire year in complete chaos over a Twitch joke. And somehow this is a real chapter in chess history. Vera Menchik was the first women's world chess champion, holding the title from 1927 until her death. 17 years without losing the title once. She also competed in men's tournaments and regularly defeated titled male players, grandmasters, future world champions, all of them. She was so dominant that male players who lost to her started a club, sarcastically named the Vera Menchik Club, as a kind of shared embarrassment badge. Over 30 titled players were members. She kept adding members. During World War II, Menchik was living in London with her family. On June 26, 1944, a German V-1 flying bomb struck her home. Vera Menchik was killed instantly. She was 38 years old. Her mother and sister died in the same strike. The greatest female chess player in the world at the time was killed by a bomb while the war was still ongoing. She never got to defend her title. She never got to see what she might have accomplished. The Vera Menchik Club lost its founder. Chess barely noticed for decades. History almost forgot her entirely. She deserved better. Carlos Torre was a prodigy. A Mexican grandmaster who, at just 20 years old, beat Emanuel Lusker, the reigning world chess champion at the time, and became one of the most exciting young players in the world. He even made a cameo in a 1925 Soviet chess film. He had everything. Then in 1926, while living in New York City, Torre suffered a mental breakdown. He was riding a Fifth Avenue bus. He took all of his clothes off. Right there. On the bus. In public. He was briefly institutionalized and then returned to Mexico, where he lived for decades in near total poverty, completely forgotten, having never competed seriously again. For the rest of his life he was known only to chess historians as a cautionary footnote. A genius who flared out not at the board, but on a New York City bus in 1926. What caused it exactly is debated. Some say a breakup, some say the pressure of living up to his own talent, some say something else entirely. Nobody really knows. He lived into the 1970s. Almost completely alone. He went from beating the world champion to disappearing from history, and the only thing people remember is the bus. During the Soviet era, chess was not just a game. It was a state program. A geopolitical statement. A weapon used to demonstrate Soviet intellectual superiority over the West. And the Soviets did not leave winning to chance. When two Soviet players were paired against each other in international tournaments, they would prearrange a short, bloodless draw. No real game played. Both players save their mental energy. Then they use that advantage to systematically grind down their Western opponents, who had been playing full, exhausting games all day. This was widespread. It was documented. It was known within chess circles for years. Bobby Fischer railed against it constantly, calling it a conspiracy, calling it organized cheating, calling it exactly what it was. And for years, people called him paranoid. People said he was making excuses. People said he was obsessed. He was completely correct. The International Chess Federation was aware and largely did nothing because the Cold War was complicated and Soviet players were winning and everyone had decided that winning was the priority. The entire global chess ecosystem was being systematically manipulated by a government. And the one guy screaming about it was dismissed as crazy. He was not crazy. He was right. He was just also, unfortunately, not okay in other ways. Hans Niemann gets all the cheating headlines. But the most elaborate, carefully planned chess cheating operation in recent history was the Sébastien Feller case. Around 2010, French Grandmaster Sébastien Feller was competing in an international tournament. He was not alone. An international master named Cyril Marzolo was sitting at home watching the game online. He would feed Feller's positions into a chess engine, get the best move, and then text a coded message to Grandmaster Arnaud Hochar, who was physically present inside the tournament hall, in Feller's line of sight. Hochar would then communicate the move to Feller using pre-arranged body language signals. 3 people. A chess engine. Coded text messages. Signals from across a crowded room. All to cheat at chess. The French Chess Federation uncovered it. All 3 were banned. And the thing that sticks with me is the sheer amount of effort involved. The coordination required. The planning. The signals. The codes. These people put real work into this. And not a single calorie of that energy went toward actually getting better at chess. They built an entire espionage operation to win a tournament instead of just learning chess. Which would have been faster. And legal. And not a federal matter. Studies have shown that in high-pressure chess positions, a player's adrenaline levels and heart rate can spike to levels comparable to paragliders, extreme mountaineers, and deep-sea divers. Chess is not a relaxing activity at the top level. It is a physical event. And some people do not survive it. Johann Zukertort died of a stroke while playing at a London coffee house in 1888. Ivers Gypslis died of a stroke mid-game at a chess club in Berlin in the year 2000. Victor Ciocultia died of a cerebral emergency during a tournament game in Spain in 1983. Efim Bogolubo died of a heart attack right after finishing a simultaneous exhibition in 1951. But the most brutal one is Vladimir Bagirov, Russian grandmaster, who died in 2000 during a tournament in Finland. He was winning. He was in the lead. 3 straight victories. Round 4, he had an extra one. He got into a time scramble. And then he had a heart attack and died the next day. He was winning the tournament. And chess killed him. Geza Maroczy, one of the strongest players a century ago, was present when his opponent died at the board and reportedly said, "That's the best kind of death for a chess master." He meant it as a compliment. And that concludes my Google Slides presentation on the most disturbing chess facts ever recorded. If you came into this video thinking chess was a calm, peaceful, intellectual pastime for refined people, I hope this has been educational. Chess has produced serial killers using boards as scoreboards, poisonings at national championships, grandmasters jumping from windows, the greatest American chess player dying surrounded by women's shoes, and an entire nation's spy apparatus applied to competitive board games. It has also produced some of the most beautiful games ever played and some of the most brilliant minds in human history. Both things are true. The game contains everything. The darkness and the genius. They just happen to be attached to the same 64 squares. Thank you for listening. Please check on your chess friends. They are usually fine. But sometimes they are not.